Hey guys, welcome back to our little mini series on how to beat the hard dungeons, level 2. Both free to play options as well as sort of my teams that I like to use that, of course, have a decent amount of 5 stars in them. So today we're talking about the Glands cave, which is probably everyone's most requested one because in Glands you get blade runes and you get rage runes. These are two of the most important runes that you need for pretty much all of your damage dealers, and honestly, a lot of other units as well, like knights and such. They also can do really well on blade and rage runes. So we're going to be going in today talking about Glands Cave. We're going to look at some of the monsters that you can use free to play, and then of course some monsters that you can use that are more, pay to win, or the 5-star monsters. So if you check out the statistics here for level 2, Tessarion is by far one of the best monsters. But if you look at some of the free to play options, a lot of them are up here. Colleen, Igmanodon, Chloe, Karambit, even Rakuni down there. And then a lot of you also have Bastet. So I'll show you guys a Bastet team later on. So I did want to run level 2 and see how well some of the free-to-play teams hold up. I am running Cleaf, and one thing to note about Cleaf is that something that makes this dungeon extremely more manageable is getting the second skill for Cleaf. So I know a lot of you aren't quite to level 70 yet, but when you do get there, you can use 10 skill books and purchase the second skill, and you'll need 30 skill books in total. I think for the most part, every single one of Cleaf's new skills that you could get for 10 skill books is better than the original. The best one by far is the fire one. As you can see here, it does some really important things for the Glands boss. One, it gives us burn 90% rate, and it also level 1 crit damage taken up, right? So it's the little slash icon that you'll see later on. So it allows our damage dealers to do more damage. It also applies silence, which is actually really cool for this boss as well. So let's head back into Glands. All right, so Glands level 2. Now, some of these teams may not work for you level 2 right away, and you need to be conscious of that because it's going to take some more runes. It's going to take leveling up your summoner, but I guarantee you level 1 should be very doable for just about everybody once you reach this point, okay? So let's go ahead and enter in level 2 and see how our teams fare. So funny enough, I was actually just watching Barcode's video, and this is exactly the free-to-play team that he suggests. Now, a lot of people, if you're an Orbia main, you could probably play around a little bit more. This seems to be a pretty safe team for Cleaf. Again, Cleaf does things a lot slower, right? So your runs are going to be a lot slower. And also with a slower run, there's more opportunity for the AI to mess up. And that's kind of a big thing that happens is the majority of your failed runs is just the AI not doing what it's supposed to do. So let's go ahead and check this one out. I've got Chloe here in that Soul Link spot. Lukasha, which has been the sleeper pick. I know Barcode's talked about Lukasha a lot. And it's really because of Barcode that I kind of started looking at Lukasha. And I actually built her just for this. And then we have good old Karambit. Good old Karambit is awesome. He's on a Swift build. Something to note about my Karambit, though. He is completely unskilled and still able to do some of this. So if you have your Karambit fully skilled up, you're going to do this a lot easier. So let's go ahead and do the battle start and see how this goes. Chloe is obviously there for the healing and the occasional protection from big damage. Right now, I've got both of the Soul Links on, so that way both of her skills will go off. She's pretty darn good at figuring out what to use when. She also does a really good job of moving into position where she should be to get the best healing on the team. So as you can see, my Cleaf is applying burn. He's applying that crit damage taken up. There's also a bleed that's being applied by the skill 3 of Cleaf. So Cleaf actually does quite a few things with his kit, which is actually quite nice, especially with that new skill 2. Lukasha's over here putting out the defense breaks. As you can see, there's not a ton right now. My Lukasha also has a relatively low accuracy. So if your Lukasha is built tanky with high accuracy, she's going to be putting out a ton of defense breaks, and it's going to make this a lot faster and a lot more reliable. So even there with the level 5 crit damage up there, they still didn't die there, which is pretty nice. This is the one that always is tricky right here, is when your monsters get in real close like that while he's doing his sort of like waterfall effect. As you can see there, he got out of a move there because of the silence that went on. So for sure, this team will occasionally fail here and there. But thankfully, we have the repeat run function now to where your runs will just keep going until you lose 3 times in a row. And most of the time, you really won't get to that point. So as you can see, Chloe there was able to keep up. And again, my Karambit was fully unskilled, right? So skill up your Karambit and you will see that run be a lot faster. Make sure that your Lukasha here has high accuracy and high HP, so that way she doesn't die. And you should be able to clear Tier Glands hard relatively easily. All right. I want to show you a couple other options that are extremely popular options. They're a little bit more difficult for Cleaf, okay? A lot of people like to run Igmanodon here. Igmanodon has a really special skill 2, which applies beneficial effect blocker, making sure that the boss never actually gets that beneficial effect of the crit damage up. So some people like to run this. You could run the Chloe here with the Karambit. Some people also run the Colleen. Colleen is another strong pick here. Colleen is your sustainer. This is going to probably make your runs a little bit faster than the Chloe because Colleen gives you attack up. But at the same time, Chloe provides a lot more protection for your team. So Chloe, I think, is a better pick overall for most summoners for those safer runs. But Colleen could probably do you well, especially if you're an Orbia main. You'll be able to kill that boss a little bit faster. The only thing that you don't have here is the consistent defense breaks from the Lukasha. So it's really rather hard to kind of build a team for this that has a little bit of everything, right? Another sleeper pick that you guys may not remember is good old Chiwu here is now a free-to-play unit. You can get him in the monster story. So one cool thing that Chiwu does here, he's actually got 2 skills that are beneficial to us. This skill 1 here will go ahead and attack the target, and each attack has a chance to apply block beneficial effect. So as an Orbia main, you might want to check out Chiwu and see if that works for you. Chiwu's a pretty decent monster also in PvP, so you probably won't regret. All right, so as a Cleaf main, here's a couple options for your more pay to win or 5-star compositions, okay? So a lot of people like to run Juno. Juno does 2 things, heals and strips, which is an important one. A lot of people like to run Segment as another way of stripping that damage. And then as another unit, you could either run Tessarion, you could run your fully skilled Karambit if you have your Karambit, you could run a Chiwu if you have a fully skilled out. There's a lot of different kind of 5-star options you could run. My particular one that I like to run, and this one's going to be a little bit weird, is actually Bastet, Segment, and Tessarion. And you'll notice that there's no healing here. So I'm going to throw on a couple runes here. And I'm going to show you how this one works, at least for Cleaf. And honestly, it probably does even better for Orbia. All right, so this is the team right now for Tier Glands Hard Level 2. We've got Bastet, Segment, and Tessarion. Bastet, you'll see, is kind of the primary key here. Segment is going to steal and apply defense breaks, which is really important to make these faster and more consistent. Tessarion also is going to be applying those defense breaks and a lot of burn, as well as doing damage based off of that burn level. Cleaf up there on his fire staff to get the bonus as well. It's the best staff by far for this. All right, so this is it. Bastet, Segment, Tessarion. Let's try it out. So one thing you'll want to do is make sure you're on Soul Link 1 is turned off, so Bastet only ever uses her skill 2. Which is just lots of shields and attack up. When you do this, also, the attack up is going to be stacked pretty high, allowing you to do a lot more damage with your Segment and your Tessarion. One thing that I like about running the Bastet versus another healer like a Chloe or a Colleen or even a Juno is that Bastet with her shields never allows your health to drop in the first place, especially if she's a well-built Bastet. Your health never actually drops, so the boss has this kind of passive mechanic where he will one-shot low health targets, and that's honestly the reason why most runs fail, is that one single mechanic. Your monsters get too low in health, and then all of a sudden the boss just one-shots them. And then the boss gets more ultimate gauge because of that, and the boss heals because of that. So your run is essentially over at that point. So depending on, AI and how it works, you'll see the health does go down a little bit sometimes. And you can see that this is a run that I've been able to run 40, 50 times in a row, never had a problem. Sure, it does occasionally fail here and there, but because of the repeat battle, it'll just keep going until it fails 3 times in a row, which I have not had yet. So I love this team. I think it works really well. We'll try it out with another set here, or another team. So one that you guys might like is also a Juno. A lot of you guys went on the Juno banner. So we can try out the Juno banner we can try out the Juno as well. Juno, relatively high accuracy with high HP. That's kind of her job. So let's throw this in there and let's see how it goes. So for this one, you definitely want both skills on and let Juno do both things when she wants to. Her first skill is a strip, which is going to make sure to strip off. As you can see, she just stripped off and applied burn as she did that. So that's really good for your Tessarion, who's going to do more damage based off of that burn. As your monsters get a little bit lower, Juno's going to go ahead and heal them up. And she's got a really great heal for this. As you can see, Juno just stripped off that crit up, so the boss is never really going to do any sort of meaningful damage. Defense breaks coming out from the Tessarion specifically. Your segment isn't going to get as many defense breaks in this case, so in all honesty, the segment is a lot less useful when you bring a Juno, since the Juno is providing most of these strips. So the segment's kind of value comes with the strip and then application of defense break after that. So in all honesty, you could probably just run a Karambit instead of segment, and that would work really well as well. So thankfully AI doing what it's supposed to do and moving out of the way there. As you can see, the boss got a little one-shot mechanic off there. Thankfully he didn't have a crit up, so nobody died in that case. But as you can see, as one of the reasons I don't like to run the healer, and I'm not saying everybody can run the Bastet comp, but that's one of the reasons I don't like the healer comps. Ooh, nice rage rune. It's not bad. One of the reasons I don't like the healer comps is because they let you get low, which then the boss will do that one-shot mechanic and one-shot your monsters. So in that case, you could probably have run something a little bit better. You could probably switch out the segment for something like a Karambit, and I'll go ahead and let this one speed through. Remember, this Karambit's completely unskilled because I don't use Karambit anymore. And we'll try this one out. The Karambit will probably give us a little bit more damage value and overall utility value versus the segment. So as you can see here, level 2, the Karambit died in that situation, and it's really one of the reasons I would run the segment as well, other than the Karambit. If you're an Orbe, you can probably get away with it. It's a lot faster of a run. But since Cleaf, the runs are significantly slower, I don't tend to like to run. I like to run as much utility as possible. So the Juno has to both heal and strip, which leaves some of that crit damage up occasionally. So that's why I like to bring the segment as just sort of a backup to stripping and then adding more defense break. So as you can see, we still won, but just not necessarily the team that I would prefer to run. All right, guys, so the biggest thing with this boss is really just understanding the mechanics of the boss and how he puts damage and where you're going to fail. All right, guys, so some of the mechanics that you want to look out for is 2 really in particular. This first one is here. You can see that Talatis stuns the enemy below a certain HP ratio and jumps at it to attack. This is the one I was talking about where this is some of the reasons I don't care for some of the healing compositions, is that your monsters just get too low and then the boss will do this one-shot mechanic, and when he does that, a lot of other stuff happens. He heals, he gets more crit damage up, and all of a sudden you've lost the run. So this is a big reason I like to run the Bastet, because I never actually get low in the first place, or at least low enough for him to do this one-shot mechanic. The other one to look out for here is if caster has no dot. So what that means is if there is no burn or poison or anything else like that, if there's no damage over time on the boss, then they are going to get this level 10 damage taken down, meaning they will be much harder to do damage to, much harder to kill. So it's very important to consistently put out burn specifically and any other type of dot like a bleed, so that way Talatis never has that buff and you can kill it a lot faster. All right, guys. thank you guys for watching. I hope this gave you a little bit of an insight into some of the choices and some of the reasoning behind some of the monsters that I bring and some of the monsters that you might bring depending on your summoner. If you're not able to do level 2 hard, it's totally understandable. Most of it's just a power check. And even if you do get into the bonus, it can still be rather difficult. So do not worry, just go for level 1 for a while, get some nice 6-star runes, continue to level up your summoner's gear, and then eventually, try out level 2, see how it goes. Bring in a couple combinations of comps, try out a couple different things, see how it goes. Let me know down in the comments what team that you're running with. Also, while you're down there, let me know what summoner you are with that team. It does make a difference for other Cleaf, other Orbi, and other Kina mains that are attempting to clear these dungeons. Always put your summoner. That's always a really nice, helpful thing when trying to give out awesome teams and trying to give out combinations of monsters to beat certain floors. All right, guys, I hope this helped. Make sure to stay tuned for the next video. Hit that subscribe button down below. If this video helped you, go ahead and hit the like button. It'd be much appreciated. As always, I'm Topher Smurf telling you to keep on gaming.